G'day virtual pilots, it's Requiem. This video is going to be a hardware review for VKB Gladiator NXT that was sent to me by VKB, and it's to provide an honest review for you guys. So let's have a look. For some review of my hardware history, I started out with a Logitech Extreme 3D Pro, and ended up next with a Logitech G940 HOTAS, and both had spiking in both instances. And now I'm using a Thrustmaster Warthog that has a 10cm stick extension. I've also got MFG Crosswind for pedals, Monstertech mounts to bring the controls down a bit, and I use TrackIR as well. So going back to a Gladiator, it was a little bit different for me initially, simply because it's that one-piece setup which has a twist stick, which you use the twisting to control the yaw, but the muscle memory came back for that relatively quickly. So the box itself, you'll come with two things. You'll get a modular base and a grip. Depending on what you want, you can order a left grip or a right grip. So you can have a left grip if you were doing, like a space simulator. That way you can have two joysticks to use in the left and right hands. But if you're natural lefty, then that's going to be an advantage for you as well. So the base module comes with two contactless Mars sensors on the X and Y axes. This is supposed to improve the accuracy of the unit. You've got one throttle wheel in the middle, two rotary X's on the outside, as well as three buttons, and the two LEDs can be programmable, and it has a steel plate in the bottom, which you can use to mount to a desk. So these two outside axes, N1 and N2, these are going to continually rotate around, and this is going to be what you'll want to use in multi-engine aircraft to control things like RPM or radiators or the radar as well if you're using modern airplanes. Well, the center axis is going to be controlled for single engine aircraft, and that's pretty much just going to be for your throttle. Now there is a premium version and a standard version, so when you buy either one, the base is going to be the same module, so the accuracy of the stick is not affected. Doesn't matter which version you buy, and the general stick design is the same as well, but there's a couple of features on each stick that differ. So on the standard grip, you got the lockable twist axis, a dual action trigger, three hat switches on it, which each have a center push, and these are four-way switches. There's four buttons on it, programmable LEDs, and you've also got some interchangeable armrests as well if you want to adjust those. On the premium grip, you've got the same stuff as the standard grip, but you've got an extra rapid fire trigger. The hat switch on top is replaced by an analog mini stick with a center push, and that thumb button is replaced by a four-way switch with a center push. You've also got extra button module for the C1 and a hat switch module for the A1 position. So essentially this gives you more customization options for this grip. So in the box here, the assembly was pretty easy, but you really need to refer to VKB's YouTube channel to get the most out of it, and there's a QR code that you can use on your phone to do that. For the construction, it's an all ABS plastic material, and it's molded to fit your hand pretty nicely, and it has a texture inside that gives it a good feel. Overall, it's pretty comfortable to hold, and that little palm rest on the side is a nice feature as well, as this helps during longer sessions. There's some extra springs that come with it as well, but for me, the stick movement and feel was pretty good out of the box. But if you like, a tighter or a looser kind of feel to the stick, then you do have some softer or harder springs that let you achieve that. So because the stick feels pretty nice, there's a good resistance to the stick movement. It helps create a soft and smooth feel, and I didn't have any kind of spiking on any of the axes I was using. The four hats move around really nicely, and the buttons are pretty tight and they depress well. And overall the build feels pretty solid, so I would expect it to hold up pretty well over time. Now regarding the center force, it's not as drastic as what I have on the Warthog, that's why I have an extension. The Gladiator has a pretty gentle return to center, and this is important for a short throw joystick on a desk, and it's this center force that helps create that smooth feel you get with it. Now the yaw axis is kind of interesting, so when you twist it, it actually goes up and down while you're twisting. This is designed to reduce the twist axis drift, which can happen with twist sticks, and this helps keep the neutral position to be more accurate over time. And if you're using rudder pedals, you can lock this function so you can prevent twisting by accident. So on the premium version with these four hats, remember the two of them can be swapped out using the components that come with it as extras. But either way, you have 3 or 4 hats, that's plenty for World War II. And if you do use that extra hat, it's going to be pretty handy for modern aircraft or space sims. So having this hat is going to be useful if you're using a one-piece setup, especially if you don't have TrackIR. Now on the lower left of the stick, this is what I used for World War II cannons. There was a modify button or nozzle steering. The red button here is going to be your weapon release, which I often use for bombs or missiles depending on the airplane. And on the top right, you got another button here. For World War II, it'll be rockets or nose wheel steering in the F-16, for example. So here you can also get a better look at the two triggers. They're on the premium version. The red's that 2-stage one, and the black one is going to be that extra 2-stage trigger, so we'll have a look at that. This extra trigger is the thing that I'm not really a fan of on the premium version, because using it in flight, it alters how I grip the stick a little bit, and I'll only see myself using it on the ground for brakes. But the good thing is, it's all customizable, so if it does get in your way, then you can remove it if you want. So it may kind of defeat the purpose of buying the premium version, but I think that's worth it anyway, just to get the extra hat on that C1 position. And if you're someone who only has this one-piece setup, then using that extra trigger is going to be useful for you on the ground for that braking function, like I mentioned earlier. As you would know, I'm a pilot in real life, so I like to have these monster deck mounts which lower the thrustmaster stick and throttle to a more natural position for me to use. And VKB does have their own mounting solution, and the Gladiator itself is still compatible with other options, such as Monster Tech or Fox Mount or something like that. But even still, if you're using it on a normal desk with two hands as a one-piece setup, then it's not really going to pose much of a problem for you either way. So here's an example of the VKB desk mount. It'll give you a more natural stick position like I mentioned, and it'll help the stick to not move at all. The problem is it's going to be an added expense for you, so you'll only really need it if you're going to use the Gladiator as part of a full HOTAS setup. So for a summary, if you're looking to get your first stick or replacing a stick, this is a pretty good one to get, which has a lot of functions you can use between various sims. It's going to have a cheaper entry point as well compared to a full HOTAS from something, from Virpil or Thrustmaster. There is software available for it, but it's not really required because all the functions were recognized in game really easy, so assigning everything was not a problem at all. I would like to have seen more detailed paper documentation, as I'm, kind of a fan of paper. And this kind of makes visiting the VKB YouTube channel and website kind of important in order to get the most out of the stick. So that's all I've got for this review. And if you're someone that owns a VKB and you have any thoughts or tips about how to use this stick, then feel free to leave a comment. And until next time, though, remember to fly safe and check your six.